you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
With the calm before the storm, I'm your host, Minister Idris Taha, and with me have Brother Fakul Abdul Aziz, and with us on the set we have Holy Queen Mother Rabia Salim. May I ease his peace and the blessing about your presence.
May I ease the peace.
Before we get started in this program, we want to send a shout out to the Lord Holy Apostle Dean, who's Lord under the weather today, but his spirit and his presence felt here, and we thank the Lord Most High for him being with us as a part of this community. With that being said, one of the things we want to touch on this evening, and I really want to say the calm before the storm because we start out kind of slow, but as I either brings up the spirit and the weather, then the storm came, and we hit on a lot of topics. You know, we sound the bang and the sound, the cymbals and the bangs and the gongs of noise for what I easily bring them forth. And a lot of people, sometimes I run into people on the streets, and they say sometimes, I like what y'all say, y'all tell the truth. But sometimes y'all come kind of harsh. Sometimes I say I know, but sometimes our people sometimes like the brashness of things. You know, if you come soft, try to slow roll it to them, they think you soft. But if you come hard, it give them like almost a hammer hitting the head because our people sometimes need that effect.
Yeah, they need
you know,
that.
they need that. Wake up.
Yeah.
You know, that holler in the air.
That
You like
James
kids.
Brown effect. They need that excited
Exactly.
effect. Yeah,
and one of the things that I easily bring forth now that we talk about all the time, Holy Queen Mother, all of us Holy Apostles, we deal with the truth. And I either bring forth the truth concerning this thing that our people have a tendency to loving our enemies. Turning to those who want to use us, abuse us, castigate us, and we still want to turn, oh, we love you for treating us good slaves that we have been and we continue to be.
Right.
You know, in this day, 2007, this year, you know, but our Holy Queen Mother, Brother Frank here.
If I may, hold on, Holy Queen Mother. I was just having a conversation with a co-worker, kind of on the same subject matter we were talking about. Matter of fact, what we were talking about was the enemies of the Afro-American and the historical enemies, who the people who have been against them, who've said to keep them down, to keep them in a certain place, who've abused them, taken liberties with them, created laws just for the purpose of keeping them down. But this person's response, although, and it was a young woman, and she acknowledged the reality of who this open enemy was in this historical context, talking about the history of the Afro-American here in America. But she kept trying to get around the subject, say, well, listen, just because they were like that, we don't need to be like that. And just because they abuse us, we don't need to bring ourselves down to the same level. You know, she was talking about one thing, but it was like her insistence. It's like I was impressed about how she persisted in getting around the subject. I'm not going to deal with the reality that someone is smacking me on the cheek. I'm going to turn this other cheek. And if and although she won't acknowledge the reality of turning the other cheek, is just that even in our dialogue, she didn't want to realize that who these people are and who this group is.
You know, one of the things that we come across time and time again is that our people refuse to put blame where blame is due.
Right.
Evidently, a long time ago, we had, us as a people, African American people, did something that displeased our Lord, which caused the Lord to cause, you know, for us to endure slavery and what have you. But it don't take away the fact of what has taken place. And the only way to fix the thing, you have to go to the root of the problem.
Right.
Now, the Caucasian people didn't allow us to read and study and everything when they first brought us over here. Their whole program was to get us to be slave, mental slave, physical slaves. And that's what we had become, and that's what we are today. But just because we don't have the chains on our feet and on our hands, we think that we're free of that. No. We still have the house niggers, the field niggers. We still have that slave mentality. That's one of her problems, is that she don't want to break away from that slave mentality. Like I said, in order to fix a problem, you have to go to the root. Then you have to acknowledge the problem. So in that, you have to look at the fact that our people turn the other cheek because that's what they've been told to do. And they and the Caucasian people use that as the saying, the Lord said, love thy enemy. you shouldn't love the enemy of yourself.
Yeah.
Now, if you was to kill my son, I could never love you. Because my Lord, I don't believe, I'm not going to speak in absolute because the Lord could do as it will, but I don't believe my Lord will put love in me for you. See, people get have a misunderstanding about love. The Lord said man would conquer a lot of things in life, but he would never conquer love. See, love is the essence that's come from Allah and Allah alone. So in that, you can never love nothing outside of what the Lord wants you to love anyway.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if you wrong me, and I suffer the pain of you wronging me, and the Lord do not put love in me or forgiveness in me for you, it can't exist. Okay? Now, people loving their enemies, that's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. Someone shoot your mother down, you ain't going to go embrace that person and say, I love you. Now, Caucasian people have enslaved our people and continue to enslave us. They threaten us with our jobs every day. They make our living conditions bad. They don't have to make our living conditions bad. A lot of people say, well, you make your own living conditions bad. Yes, we contribute to it because of our lack of education. You know, the lack that they didn't, the lack of education that wasn't extended to us from the beginning of time. If you taught us how to tear up bricks trying to run from you, then that's what you got. People that tear up bricks. Don't know why they're tearing the bricks up, but this is not something that was developed yesterday. This is something that has been inherited and passed down. Genes is strong, you know, and we don't understand sometimes why people do the things they do, but it's somewhere in them genes. Okay, so when you saying love your enemy, that's almost impossible, and we try to trick our brain into thinking that this is right. It's right to love our enemies. You know, I don't love the evil of myself. I know doggone for well I'm not going to love the evil of someone else. That's just backwards. And just like they said, if you know somebody is going to do you some harm, do you turn your back on them and walk away?
No.
I think about the old phrase, you know, keep your friends close, your enemies closer.
Right.
Now, if I know you trying to do me in, it might be befriending you because I'm going to make sure I can watch you above everybody else around me in the situation that's going on. And they always like you said, Holy Queen Mother, but they mistake that teachings of Jesus, loving our enemy, turn the other cheek. If they study the scriptures, Jesus was telling it to people in certain situations. If the brother smack you, you take him back. But we always been taught because they want to use the teachings of the Lord Most High in the scriptures, talking about do those good to those who despitefully use you. Jesus said no. When you get an enemy, you fight that enemy. But in situations that came about in the wisdom that the Lord Most High gave Jesus, he said, put away thy sword. For example, with Peter when they was in the garden, they was outnumbered. He said, put away your sword because now it's not time to fight. He wanted to fight many times. But most people in the religions won't teach that. All they say was Jesus is loving. Jesus wasn't forgiven. He was not forgiven. He told the people when he was giving forth the Lord's message, who was my mother and who was my brethren? Not that he didn't love his mother or his brethren, but those who do the will of my Father, those whom I love. I'm not going to join you as your enemy. He didn't even trust Judas, who was part of his camp, part of those 12 that were chosen. He knew that he was going to betray him, but as the Lord wills, as you keep saying, I know that the Lord do things out of its purpose. But he never trusted Judas. He never took him close to his wing like he did John the divine, and James, his brother, and Peter. He took them in closer than many of the other brothers in the circle that he had. So it again shows you that with the Lord taking your enemy, and our people have now, from the time from slavery on, we continue on in the process of loving those people that marched in the 60s, for example. That comes to mind because it's ringing a bell right now. You really think them people marching in the 60s in the South really wanted to get bit by them dogs, them horses? They wanted to fight back. But the Caucasians knew they were going to fight because of the teaching of Christianity through slavery. Love me. Despite what I do to you, that good man, he going to change his ways one day. We're in 2007. He have not changed his way. His sophistication in doing you in better his treachery has become better, and the evil that he does has become better. But he don't. But if you do something to hit you, Caucasians never forgive you though.
Never.
I think about the trial with O.J. when they got all them white folks were angry. You saw the animate angry, and then how to let that nigga, that man get off?
I think
the family never forgave O.J. for that. They ain't gonna forgive him.
I think of the scripture and the analogy you talk about keeping your enemies closer and being mindful of your enemies. The people being taught nonsense in
Yeah.
religion, what is nonsense, and learn to accept nonsense. When I say nonsense, something that makes no sense to them, that they
Okay.
can't gather, they can't put together as making sense, but they accept it. Somehow they find a way, because in order for me to embrace religion and be true on this teaching that I'm getting from my preacher, that I'm getting eloquently from this teacher, whatever, I got to embrace it. Maybe I'll figure it out later on. I don't know what their rationale is. But they grab a hold of nonsense, something where it's loving thine enemy. I asked the question in the matter of Jesus. Would you say that Satan was Jesus' enemy? Yes, Satan is an enemy.
Yes.
Satan's an open enemy.
Right.
Would you say, would anyone dare say that Jesus loved Satan? Come on, would anyone dare say that?
No.
So we're getting at the ground common sense of it. I was going to say your analogies. A lot of the people of religion, they overlook the common sense, the sense of religion.
Right.
If they're looking for something, they got to look for something that makes sense. Even a person that does something that's natural in defending themselves, if they grew up in the teachings, if they're affected or influenced by the Western Christian teaching, the teachings given to the African slaves here in America in particular, even if a person does something that's a natural thing, such as defending themselves or going out and taking a retaliatory action before thinking, something that's perfectly natural or something like that, they can't even forgive themselves because they've done a thing that is natural, that is normal, that they even may be exonerated by the legal society here. They may be exonerated by it, let off by it. They'll still go around with a guilt complex about it, thinking that they're less than human, that they're less than right or something like that. So the people can't even do a thing. They're handicapped in seeking to do something that's good for them, that's going to make them progress as human beings toward a real truth about their real nature, what they're really supposed to do as far as their right to defend themselves. Such as the white person's right. If you hurt somebody that they love, they know about their right to take action or to defend themselves or to take care of what is theirs, and they have no guilt complex about it.
Right.
They just go forward and they do it. And that's above when they do the things in aggression or in the state of evil, in their evil, as well as other people in their evil.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, and it just made me think about, I read a newspaper article maybe 3 weeks ago where this guy, they finally brought this Caucasian man to justice for a killing he did over 40-some years ago to these two young black guys down in South Carolina, somewhere like that. I can't remember the story exactly. Right. And they was like, justice have been done and we should be happy. And I'm like, wait a minute. Here we go with that nonsense again. I can't accept things of that nature because, okay, 40-some odd years later, this man done had a family, children, grandchildren. He is now 78 years old going to prison for a crime he committed 40-some old years ago.
He done lived his life.
Where is the justice?
see.
I wouldn't even waste my time with someone like that because they laugh. Because they be like, well, okay, I go to jail now. I live my life. So where's the justice? So don't print that in the paper and try to act like we have a victory in our court because there's no victory there. And this is not to turn people away from the Caucasian people. This is just to make them aware of what truly exists among us. A lot of time people, the first thing Caucasian people do is they hear a conversation like we having, and our own people is to say, you can't keep talking about slavery. No, I have to keep talking about slavery. I'm not talking about slavery all them hundreds of years ago. I'm talking about the slavery that still exists now. Where I have to serve you in the manner that you feel that I should serve you in order for you to treat me fair or halfway fair. Because you're not even going to treat me fair.
3/4 way fair.
I mean,
like that,
I can tell you of one of my experiences. I had a supervisor that reported to her supervisor that I didn't look her into her eyes when I was speaking with her. I'm like, that's part of my job. If I decide not to stare you in your eyes now, and then after that, I got so much problems that came to me after that because I didn't look a Caucasian in their eyes. Well, it was with a lot of other things, but that was one of their main problem.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so where's my freedom? You know what I'm saying? So freedom don't exist, and then we have our house niggas, you know, that constantly do our people wrong, thinking that master going to let them get ahead. Master only going to use them, and then once master finish using them, he going to dispose of them.
Right.
So you can't love your enemy.
Right.
You can't love your enemy. Just like I said, if you could accept your enemy as being your enemy and then find love for them,
Right.
something's wrong.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
something's wrong.
Something is
Yeah.
definitely wrong. But I say pardon them.
Right.
The reason why I say pardon them is why should you carry all that ill inside of you? Know your enemies. Don't there somewhere that said know thy enemies?
Oh, yeah.
Know thy enemies.
Definitely.
So that you can protect yourself against them. But pardon them. Don't carry that burden on yourself, because surely the Lord is just in what it does. So you leave them be. You know, you don't waste too much of your time with them. You know, you don't have to go out here picking and marching in regards to the injustice that they do to you, because they only being unjust to themselves, but they realize it not. You know?
And quiet as kept, many Caucasians know that there is injustice done every day in society, but they still go home and sleep comfortably because they know they have the protection, they have the law in their favor most of the time in this society. And I'm thinking about, again, how our people always go to embrace Caucasians, and I'm not against Caucasians, but if they understand that they know that the devil, like we just said before in one of the programs, when they told me, that's my little devil, they knew what they were talking about. They laugh and joke, but they knew the seriousness of what they're talking about. But when you point out an injustice, you know, not what they've done in wrongness or unfairness to you, then they have turned to understand, because, like for instance, example, the Jews. They'll never let you forget the Holocaust.
Right, right.
And it was, you know, like 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
They keep putting that into your face, you know, and then we go to do it, Arab-American people, oh, that was then. The Holocaust was then.
Right.
Right.
You know, now they turn away from what the Lord sent to them as a chastisement, but they'll never look at it upon that, because they always have you in other people's eyes being favored by the Lord. And our people fall in suit. You gotta raise up the Jews. Who?
Right.
Right.
The Jews at one time were favored by the Lord, but we know their history as a people back to Abraham and Sarah and Hagar, how that whole thing dealing with, they ain't loved any, because if Sarah loved Ishmael and Hagar like she should have loved her son Isaac, then they wouldn't have had the fruit that's going on today. That's only through the premonition, through the genes, through the time going on.
Right.
If she had the true love for Abraham and her co-wife, then you wouldn't have had what's taking the effect that's going on now. And now people have the effect of slavery, whether you have the mental chains or the physical chains on us now, it's not there, but the effect is in us still. But we still embrace, because, like you said before, we go to hug, you know, always look to them to be our hero. Look at it as an idol of worship, as a thing to be worshipped.
Right.
You know, and our people have done themselves an injustice, you know, hating themselves because we want to change our features, going to the knife, all kind of things to look more like them.
Right.
And they had the brother was on the radio recently, and he had a thing about, you know, light skin, dark skin. And the people were jumping on him, black people were jumping on him about how you have from the Nation of Islam into society now who you call beautiful or power couples and things of that nature, or all lighter skinned people.
Right.
Now, people say, how should that matter in the scheme what we're talking about now? Because it's, again, loving your enemy, because the closer you are to Caucasian, then the more you like that. You know, the darker you are, then you're more not looked upon as tasteful, beautiful, and all that goes into play, part of the scheme again of loving our enemies. And our people will not understand that. And the more you talk about it, like you said, the sister got mad with you because you wasn't bringing her truth. And that truth is an ugly truth, because our people we have blinded ourselves to that truth, looking at that we love the Caucasian. If we denounce that thing to us, that's part of the healing. Yeah, we do love the white man. We love him. And we want to live near him, with him. They got mad with Elijah, for example, when he said, let's separate, have our own house. And most black people from the civil rights movement got angry with Elijah because of the statement he made, but he told the truth. We have our own, they may respect us more. They may deal with in business. And we get to integration, now our people left what we had of our own businesses, establishment, to integrate with Caucasian. They love us now.
Like
now,
Homecoming Mother, she said, like she reminded us, you got to first come to the realization of what the situation, what the problem
What it is. It is, right.
What it is. Even if you're talking about the light skin and the dark skin, you're talking about us as a people having so many different hues as it is, you know. So we're going to interact. That's going to happen or whatever, but at least come to a recognition as to why you might have a sector of fairer-skinned persons who might get treated in a more preferable way. You know, no fault of their own, and you can't get angry if they accept an advantage that they're given or something like that. But all the people as a whole got to know where we're coming from, what it is that we have to face. You know, we were talking about loving thine enemy. It's been pointed out to us, we talk about, what do they call it, the Patty Hearst syndrome. We call it the Patty Hearst syndrome.
Okay.
When you're a kidnapped person and you're people up under siege.
You start loving
and
it.
Yeah, and after a while, I mean, this is the person that's holding you captive, that's controlling your education, that's controlling your economics, that's controlling how you move, that's dictating that you're a majority criminal class, or that you're a majority welfare class, whatever it is, negative or positive, and they put certain people up in a so-called positive light. Nevertheless, these are still your historical captors, or you're in the perception that you're within a historical captor. Yeah. So after a while, when you're captured, what is the person? That's the person you depend upon for your livelihood, for your mindset, for your shelter and the like. You become beholden to him. You know, you start to, you're going to love that captor. You know, didn't Patty Hearst? Certainly, Patty Hearst was evidence of that. Everybody that can remember what happened with Patricia Hearst, the daughter of the Hearst, the Hearst family.
Right.
When she was kidnapped by these the militants and the like, I don't even remember the particular details.
Army, one of them got kidnapped.
But then after a while, they started getting pictures of her helping them out, robbing banks and whatever. She was all in with the group and the like, you know.
But she's a victim.
But yeah, but she was truly a victim.
And but victimization.
She had taken hold to her victimizers.
And that's one of the great problems we have as a race of people, is because some people that's in this race shouldn't be in this race.
Yeah.
See, let's go back to the genes. Genes are strong. Now, just because some of us have dark skin don't mean that we're 99.9% African American.
Right.
We may be 99.9% Caucasian.
Right.
And that drop of African just happened to show up in our pigmentation.
Right.
So when you have a situation like that, you ever dealt with a person and they just as dark as you, but when you're dealing with them, it seems like you're dealing with a Caucasian person.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
And so because Caucasian people refuse to be responsible. They always talk about deadbeat dads, but deadbeat dads started with the slave masters.
Deadbeat parents.
Deadbeat dads and deadbeat moms didn't want to own up to them children that they was having with the Africans.
Slave, right.
And just because they didn't own up to them didn't mean they didn't exist, and they still exist. You know, they still exist, but like they said, a Caucasian woman can marry an African man. They will always consider that child an African child.
Yeah. And a perfect example of that is Obama. They was trying to tell him he acknowledges his black side because his father's of African descent and his mother's Caucasian. But Rush Limbaugh, for example, with his racist foolishness, said that then you shouldn't call yourself black. Then what should he call himself? Because in society, he's going to be looked at as a light-skinned black guy. Regardless of how much white he got, like you said, back to the genes, is in him. And in that foolishness, again, he will not take responsibility for the statement that he threw out there. Because that's how he does in his arrogance
just to create,
and his white-skinned privilege to do that. I can say what I want. It no matter. I know it's racist and it's foolish.
Right.
But people look at that and say, yeah, that makes sense. Now you other people talking about it now, making a big deal about his heritage, his background. Why? If he's the best candidate that you have run, not that we condone in the political arena, but he's just one of the black people again that put up by our enemies again and choose him as a leader, and then he have no choice in the matter then. He's out there in that arena, and he's the best of those candidates that's out there. But our people again will get mad with us for saying what we're saying, because how could you say that? He's black, like she said, because he's black, but he got a Caucasian mindset, then Doesn't matter. I deal with them people every day at work.
And let me tell you, there is Caucasian people that's in the Caucasian race. Let me put it like that, because see, you don't know what you have in the Caucasian race. They keep telling us they got a pure race, but there's Caucasian people that is so drawn to African American people. Then you have to ask yourself why. That's because they have the gene too.
Oh yeah.
See, all that mixing and mingling. Just because you come out a certain color do not mean that you are what you appear to be. Don't we always say don't judge a book by its cover?
Right.
That's right.
You have to read the book in order to know what's in it.
Get to know the person.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what we have going on. But nobody wants to accept the responsibility, you know. And until people really start acknowledging that which Aisha is sending down for us to give to them, then you're going to still have the chaos and the craziness, the house niggas, the film niggas, and these slave masters.
You say, we have a nation, Holy Queen Mother, that's fully capable of being able to determine from each individual with the DNA testing and all the technology that exists, fully capable of determining each individual and what their ultimate genetic makeup is about and whom they descend from and the like, and then maybe a person can better assess if he's 75% American, Native American and 25% African. He can maybe better assess his personality or his mindset or his children for that matter.
But they would never do that because that means accountability. You know, that means accountability, and people don't want to be accountable. So let me just go back into this thing about how we've been given the Bible, and that has been the beginning of the trickery placed on us. Okay, we have our people walking around here with crosses, and then some of them have the man hanging on the cross around their neck, and they kiss the cross and everything else. Now, if my son life was taken by a bullet, and they took the bullet out of his body, would I take that bullet and have a hole put in it and wear it around my neck?
No.
Why?
Wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't make no sense.
It reminds you of the...
It would remind me of the pain of what took place. I wouldn't honor that bullet. What would be the purpose? So tell me, the enemy of Jesus built the cross, to my understanding. I don't think Jesus built the cross like Noah built the ark. Right? And then his enemies put him up on that cross. So why we run around here with 20-pound crosses around our neck? Or these tiny little crosses, then we kissing them and everything? I don't understand that. And we don't take time to think about the things we do. We just do them. You know? And the Lord sends things so clear to us, but I know people that watching this show that may be of the Christian, without thinking about it. Ain't nobody trying to tear down Christianity, the truth that's in Christianity. But let's wean out this falsehood. Let's put the light on this falsehood that from generation to generation to generation we keep following. You know, our Lord has been guiding us. If we seek his guidance, we will all be on the right path. But we can't seek guidance of our Lord through falsehood. There's no room. And the Lord said that truth will always wipe out falsehood. You know, but you have to look for truth. That is such a simple truth.
And the same time again, from on that truth that the Lord doing with the Christians, we take that to Islam now. We have our enemies, the Aryan skin, the lighter skin Arabs, have our people enslaved mentally into the dress wear, into speaking their language, thinking it is holy. And they got us now outside their shop again, still peddling, still the same mindset again, to look to them. They're the pure, back to the pure race. They're near to Muhammad. When Muhammad was a dark-skinned complexion, you know, and the olive only come in the two colors, the green and black, and we know he wasn't green.
They hide the fact that he's of a dark-skinned complexion. You know, they don't share that.
But a part of that mental process getting to slavery again, and they always show us Bilal, the dark-skinned one, that they was the slave, and that's how they look at us still.
That's the dark-skinned one.
The dark-skinned one, Bilal. And that's how they look at us now in this day and time. And the Muslims that know the truth of this will recognize that. The country itself, Saudi Arabia, means the Black Arabia. They know that truth, but our people can go over there fooled by everybody's is one, you know, we're man. But there's racism, there's the separatism still, and they will not take you as in love as a friend or brother.
Right.
You know, because they're still in, you're still beneath them, even in your brotherhood. You're not equal, as Allah He said in the Quran, sit down, that in the eyesight before Allah, we're like the tooth of a comb, we're all even.
Right.
And I said before the Lord, but they will not take that, you know, because they still have to be superior. And the Jews, like they did with Jesus, they were his enemies, his own people, turned against him and to the Romans. They had him put him on that cross to be crucified. So again, where's the truth at? Where's the loving your enemy at? Loving and embracing that whole philosophy.
Who of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed and attain